Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to move on to something else. Again, this is another Biden type of story, trying to find out some more information. So, what we're dealing with today is kind of the realities that the Democrats and I would say the far left, to be more precise, are actively are getting are losing, essentially, not doing well. They're not doing super hot in terms of what the people are actually thinking, or what the people or the mass amount of people think of Biden and the administration, and maybe even all the Democrats. So it's a problem. And after some of the things that Biden has said in the past couple of days, even has really struck a nerve with people, and I don't think it's really doing well for them at all. Telling Americans that we're going to have to deal with high gas prices, and it's gonna take as long as it takes, is not really good for people that are living paycheck to paycheck. Or when one of the Biden administrators that come on and says that about the new world liberal order, and not saying that they care about the people that are living paycheck that can't afford $4 to $5 a gallon of gas forever. They completely not really agreeing with that, and completely not caring for the people. So we're really seeing these people's natures coming out. And I think this is what people are going to have to realize. I mean, when you start having CNN and MSNBC people really start going against some of the narrative, you're kind of having a huge problem here. And I'm not quite sure what they're going to do. But here is the article. 7 in 10 Americans do not want Biden running for a re-election. The Harvard Harris poll found that out of those who do not want him to seek a second term, 45% cited him being a bad president, while roughly one-third said he is too old, and a quarter said it because it is time for a change. The survey results were provided exclusively to the Hill. The pollsters found that just 30% of Democrats would vote for Biden in a presidential primary. The President Biden may want to run again, but the voters say no to the idea of a second term, panning the job he is doing as the president. Only 30% of Democrats would even vote for him in a Democratic presidential primary, Mark Penn, the co-director of the Harvard Harris poll survey, said in a statement to the outlet. The majority of respondents, 61%, also do not want to see former President Donald Trump run again in 2024. Just 39% said they would like Trump to run again. Among the respondents polled who believe Trump should not make another bid in the next presidential cycle, 36% said Trump was erratic, 33% said he would divide the country, and 30% said he was responsible for January 6, 2021, when a mob of pro-Trump supporters ransacked the Capitol in an effort to stop Congress from certifying the elections, the Hill reports. The report added, the majority of those polls said they would consider a moderate independent candidate should Biden and Trump square off against each other in 2024, including majorities of both Republicans and Democrats polled. 40% of those polls said they would not consider a moderate independent candidate if Trump and Biden go head-to-head again in 2024. However, the survey found that majorities of both parties, 53% of Republicans and 64% of Democrats, said they would consider a moderate independent candidate if those two are the options for the major parties. Which, if these polls are true, which would mean that, which would all the more mean that we would need to have Ron DeSantis take office, right? Because I can understand people's hatred or whatever for Trump, but I think DeSantis is the best. I always think he was the best after what he was doing. And here's some of the groundwork that I'll lay out for you guys here in terms of exactly what it would be if Trump was trying to get reelected, or why people would want to choose Trump over Ron DeSantis. Is because some people may think, or so like Tim Pool especially, when he came out to say this, is that Trump will go in. When Trump goes in, he's going to erase or get rid of a lot of people and get really hampered down on the system. and the fear is that Ron DeSantis would not do the same. Now, I kind of disagree with that. I think Ron DeSantis would do the same, but I can understand the fear, and what we need is somebody that would really take hold. Now, I don't know whether or not people would vote for Trump over Biden, and they would just choose, moderate people, which is a good thing. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. But again, you would have to. It's almost like you would have to choose between the two parties. But I think the best way to probably do something is to. I think the best method so far, as of right now, would be if we could get Trump to be elected, and then we would get Ron DeSantis. Now, let me explain my reasonings why this is. It's because in a actual planning term of what we would do is that having Trump first would mean he would have the 4 years of being president, and then we would get all the good stuff that Trump would be doing, and then after that, if we can vote Ron DeSantis in, we get another 8 years if things are going good, and that would mean we would have a total of 12 years of Republican presidency, which would be a really, really good plan for the Republicans, specifically because that means it would take all that time to fix any of the damage that Democrats would have had. Now, don't get me wrong, 12 years is a long time, and we don't know what the Republicans are going to do when they get into office. Now, when we look at this in particular with all the important things, like, this is pretty much saying if all things go well, right? If everything goes well, we'll be fine, great, and nothing will be a problem, right? But the problem here is that we don't know if things will go well. That's if all things, as if Trump gets elected and Ron DeSantis becomes vice president and whatnot, and the Republicans actually do stuff and fix and does big changes. These are all what ifs, and we don't know those what ifs because the Republicans again had shown time and time again they haven't really gotten shit done. So that's kind of where we have it right now. But in terms of planning for the Republicans, that's the best outcome they could have, because that means Trump leaves, and then you have Ron DeSantis come in, and people would obviously seem to like Ron DeSantis more, and you would probably get that next one. Because I don't think the Democrats will have anybody up for the next 4 years anyways after Biden gets kicked out. What they have, Kamala Harris or maybe Gavin Newsom, but we need these years to fix damage that has been happening for the Democrats. Because technically, in theory, Democrats have had, if we want to be honest here, 8 years, in theory, more than 8 years, like 12 years, essentially, same thing as I was talking about the Republicans, to really just do all the damage they have done. A lot of the stuff that was fixed was very briefly, which was Trump, which we were putting a Band-Aid over stuff. But then we got a Democrat again, and then now we have all this damage. So, if we can get the 12 years of Republicans, we might be able to see the damage become undone, assuming they do their damn job. And this is also assuming they don't become the power-hungry piece of shit maniacs that the Democrats become. And if they do, that means that we may have to vote Democrat, or we may have to vote somebody else in, because we don't want the power-hungry Republicans being that way either. So that's what I'm talking about. It's like, it could be, there's so many stories or so many things that could happen between that time and now, and why we would probably not want to have a full Republican presidency or control for 12 fucking years, alright? So, that being said, this is all up in the air. But this is not looking good for Biden. Things are really looking bad for him, and I would say just the Democratic Party as a whole. And we're going to see some changes here. The people, even in the West Hollywood, are going to see probably going to have some major changes. What's happening now is that people are waking up and people are seeing the damage that the Democrats are actually doing. And it's taking harsh reality to really wake these people up. And there's nothing better than a big slap of harsh reality to wake your ass up and see what's going on and make sure you're doing everything correctly. That's how life works. Alright guys, that's it for the video. Like, subscribe, share, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.